Welcome back. Well, we all know how stressful back-to-school shopping can be for families, and it can be particularly challenging for parents with children on the autism spectrum. Children's shoe retailer Shoes and Socks, though, is hoping to make that whole experience just a little easier. And to tell us more, we're joined by mum, Nicola Burgess, whose son Riley has autism, and clinical psychologist Dr Tom Tutton from Autism Spectrum Australia. Good morning. Welcome to you both. Nicola, it is, for all children, a really challenging time starting school, and I imagine for you and Riley it is all the greater given where he's at. Just explain the day-to-day, getting the school uniform ready, getting prepared, and doing something as mundane as going and buying shoes.
Look, yeah, it can be really challenging, and it's a really challenging time of year. You know, Riley's been out of routine for up to 6 weeks, and you know there's a lot of anxiety around starting school. I think when it comes to sort of shoe shopping, you know, waiting, sitting still, crowded environments, they're all really challenging for Riley. And I think what it does is it creates these anxious behaviours that, you know, perhaps if you don't really understand autism, you know, it's quite confronting. So when we go out and we purchase shoes and we bring them home, you know, we're not really sure whether they fit. So, you know, he's not very verbal, so he's not able to tell us if they're uncomfortable or not. So there's a lot of back and forth to the store, and, you know, we might spend hundreds of dollars on shoes that, you know, he might wear for a few days or a week.
So just explain to our viewers this initiative from Shoes and Socks, what it involves.
Well, look, I think it's really about staff training and, you know, the staff kind of understanding, you know, autism and, you know, being able to make appointments so that, you know, there's not as much waiting time and, you know, it's a much more understanding environment. It's
a great initiative, Tom, isn't it?
It's a fantastic one, yes. And look, I think, you know, kids like Riley can expect good preparation. So when we launch, there will be a social story on the website for Shoes and Socks that just helps kids understand exactly step by step what to expect when they get there. And I think that helps to reduce the anxiety that Nicola's been talking about. And yes, staff will be trained. Hopefully they'll be aware of autism, they'll be completely understanding, and they'll just welcome kids and families when they arrive for these sessions. But also I think staff have an understanding of the sensory needs of kids, so bright lights, loud noises, the sorts of typical things that you'll find in shops we can adapt. Staff are very aware of the issues around touch, so obviously sometimes touching young kids can be problematic, that they'll be able to ask or have parents assist in that process. But also some of the stock that we'll try and have in the Shoes and Sock stores will be more sensory friendly, so shoes with Velcro fasteners, socks without seams, all of those sorts of things I think will really help to support kids in these visits.
That is so wonderful. Nicola, as a mother with a son with autism, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have out there? What are the biggest barriers you face day to day?
I think, again, it's about that behaviour. So, you know, when Riley's anxious and in sort of crowded environments, his behaviour, you know, it seems like poor behaviour. And, you know, there can be some really extreme challenges, you know, around screaming or hitting, or, you know, he doesn't have the words to tell us that he's worried and uncomfortable, so he will physically show us. And I think that as he gets older, you know, you start to see a sort of lot more judgment by surrounding people, because it just seems like, you know, I can't control my child.
Yeah, bad parenting.
Bad parenting, yeah.
And am I right, Tom, in thinking that the incidence of autism is increasing and therefore we need to be better educated about it?
Look, I think we absolutely need to be better educated. What I really like about the Shoes and Socks initiative is that it feels like stores are starting to listen to important customers a little bit more. And this initiative came really when a family called up the store and said, can we book a quiet appointment? And the organisation realised that there were things that they needed to do to support families and kids on the spectrum to access a little bit more independently, and they've decided to make that wholesale. And hopefully that idea about companies listening more carefully to their customers, shaping their environments to meet their needs a little bit more, and just knowing a few small changes can actually make the biggest difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about it. And I believe Riley's at a mainstream school and he's tracking well.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you, Tom, for helping to shine a light on what is a very real issue. Okay. All right, it is over to you now, Tom.